Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you all have had a great July 4th and God bless this nation of 250 years. I am so thankful that we live where we live because I've traveled. And if there is anything that the gospel shares the most is that God cares about our freedom, that God fights for those who are under tyrannical rule, who are under oppressors, and that he cares so much not only for our freedom here on earth, but our eternal freedom, that he sent his son to die for us all, so that we would be freed from all those bonds, and especially from the eternal bonds, especially from the bonds that, as he said on the cross, we know not what we do. So very true. I also am thankful that God has allowed us to have emotion, to have sensory, and to have a balance of how to also remedy that sensory when it has gone awry. I know it's pretty controversial in the Christian world to say, but I'm just going to contend that is worry really a sin? And by that, I mean, is it a sin? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but worry is a multitude of different things, meaning not only is worry first and foremost a sensation, it's a perspective, it is also a train of thought, but worry linked to anxiety is also, some would say, an illness, and some would also say it is the state of mind due to trauma. Now, can that be fraught and fought through? Of course. Does that take time and processing? Yes. But for those who have had trauma experiences, I struggle with the nuance and onset of worry being labeled a sin. Now, Jesus did say, do not fret, do not worry. But he also said, God, excuse me, said in the Old Testament, do not be afraid, for I am with you. Now, when he says, do not be afraid, is that a sin or is that a cognitive choice? And here's a follow-up to that cognition, which I will tell you in just a second. But is worry a choice? And for some it is, and for some it isn't. Is worry a sin? Well, I contend that it's at what part of the time frame are you talking about? Because when you have a cognitive ability to focus and to make a decision with full awareness, I might be able to get on board with yes. But let's say that that awareness is inhibited by trauma, by your nervous system going awry. And by the awry, I mean not just in its regulated state. I actually mean in a dysregulated state. Is a dysregulated state a sin? No. But is it to be managed? Yes. Therefore, is worry a sin? To me, it is. The real question is, what part of your brain are you talking about? Some people do not have the cognitive grip at that moment in time. So I would contend no. So I'm putting it out there. See what you think. Because I'm tired of people being hurt and labeled and gaslit that they're in the wrong. Sure, if we are in the cognitive mindset, yes, I'm going to choose to worry. I'm going to choose to have this control. I'm going to choose this, and I have full awareness. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about that. That might be grounds. But if you are, say, have PTSD, your social engagement system is disconnected. MRIs, studies have shown that your brain is functioning correctly to disconnect parts so that the mass can survive. And I think what people, especially people of potential faith, don't conceptualize is that God designed the brain to disconnect to save the most. And without that recognition, they bend themselves and discourage many, dehumanize, dismiss, and force disassociation down those who are hurting and distressed throats. I wager to say that God cares about our freedom in this as well. Here's why. When it says, do not be afraid, for I am with you. What gets you out of a shame state? When your brain and the hemispheres and things are literally kind of in movement, like I believe it is said that they are pulling apart. And I believe that God holds our distress in the palm of his hands and holds us back together. I believe that the key that God cares about our freedom as well in this capacity is that when it says, do not be afraid, for I am with you, it is that for I am with you that is the equal balance, the equal remedy to those sensations. Because when you are afraid, to have a protector, to have someone there who cares for you, who is with you, that with you allows our brain to have a co-regulated state with the Lord our God. It is that co-regulated state that calms that worry, that lower brain sensation, that lower brain threat response, having that safety there for him to help, for him to restore our safety cues. See, worry in and of itself cannot just be parsed down, in my belief, to a sin, to a black and white issue. No, 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 no. I believe there is a whole level of process here on the table. And I also believe because this whole level of process, i.e., meaning at what state are you in? Where are you in your cognition? I believe the masses are just getting pummeled with dismissal and denial, which is ludicrous to me because God created the body, God created the brain. God created the brain to do certain functions, to save other functions, to keep the whole going, to survive. Therefore, our brains are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we must learn to manage that so that our brain can have functionality, so that we can get back to a regulated state. And what I hate is that for those who have trauma, for those who are worried, for those who are hurting because they've been so misunderstood, for those who have been shamed because they have been told this without the full gamut of understanding, I hurt for those because I know what it's like. I really get upset when the body is denied because the body is what God gave us. He designed our functionality. He designed our neurology. And yes, can things go upend and things get hinged or not worked or chunked out or whatever? Yes, of course. They can have physical ramifications to an event or to a growth or all kinds of things or to an experience or multiple experiences. And those experiences don't come out on the table. And some people don't even remember those experiences. And so therefore, to tell them that worry is a sin is to not only negate the very body that God gave them, but also the experience that they experienced that will ultimately one day be a testimony to how God was with them, how God co-regulated with them. He attunes to us. And in that attunement, we have freedom. Why? Because we have an eternal God who is with us. And in that with us is the do not fear. That is the only way that we can calm. It is not do not fear. And by the way, I'm with you. It is not to do it all alone. That's the thing, is to realize that we're not doing this alone. You know, a lot of times we go into, let me back that up. A lot of times the spirit will prompt us, you know? Yeah, I'm not doing this isn't right. I need to clean this up. It's at that point, you know, where God would in the New Testament take people, clean off their blindness or whatever with mud, with the dirtiest thing ever. Okay, which if you're like germaphobe, that's hard. He's cleaning you with dirty stuff, but I digress. Let me say this. He would say, "Go now, pick up your mat and walk," or "Go and sin no more." And it's at that recognition where you can say, "Oh, I suppose this was sin," or "I suppose that how I'm handling this might be a sin," and be convicted of it. And in that awareness, you have that stopgap. So, how does this fit in with worry? Well, it is definitely convoluted because are you in charge of your sensations? Because if worry is a sin, let's just call it out. Worry is a sensation. So, if worry is a sensation, but worry is a sin, does that make happiness, which is also a sensation, a sin, or joy, or sadness, or euphoria, or exhaustion? These are also like sensations. So, at what point is one of those sensations a sin, but not all of them? No. It's equal playing field here. You know, when Jesus died on the cross, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." There is a margin here where we know not what we do. There is a margin where you can also recognize and say, yeah, I have been worrying. I have been trying to do this on my own. I have been trusting other things than the Lord our God. I have been making other things like a God and doing that, which is idolatry, bad, sin, yes. But it's that knowing, that upper brain capacity that says, oh, when the Spirit reveals it to you, when the one who is with you reveals it to you. So what does that mean? Oh, I can keep doing this and oh, I'm free to do this. And I didn't know. There are boundaries, folks. And what I'm saying is such that there gets to be a point, whether you have high anxiety of management, where you have cognitive choice. Like there gets to be a time when you have cognitive understanding and you make a cognitive, willful choice to be ignorant or to keep going. Well, excuse me. If you're ignorant, you are keeping. You make a cognitive choice to be ignorant, to keep going. For some, the feelings come on so strong and overwhelm that by the time that that cognition comes on board, it's kind of too late. They're in that overwhelmed state. Right now, I'm picturing an amputee. Okay, I've been told, no, this is not the same. But for all intents and purposes, let's just go with it. An amputee has their leg cut off, say, in warfare. Let's put the amputee now is at home reading their Bible or a book or watching TV. And all of a sudden they get an itch. And they scratch the itch. And then all of a sudden they get shooting pain. Is that their fault? Is that a sin? My friends, I really feel like a lot of people have put worry in a bucket to say, you're sinning because you have this sensation. But I didn't make that sensation come. I didn't have cognitive control over this sensation. I didn't know all this. Like, you see the parallel here? I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. And I know a lot of people are like totally abhorrently saying, oh, this is wrong, or you need to pray harder, or you don't have faith, or you don't have this or that. And I'm just going to say bull to it all. Really, I am. And why do I say bull? Is it to cover my own tracks? That would be convenient, but that's not the case. No, I'm going to say bull because worry is a sensation. And when we get that sensation, when we are aware of it and we manage it, and then we keep going down the road and we're managing and managing it, and we have this cognitive understanding of ourselves and how God designed us. And then we say, you know, I'm volitionally going to choose to keep worrying about this and fretting and doing all this stuff because I don't trust God. I mean, that's obvious. That's a sin because you're choosing it. But just because the sensation pops up in your body doesn't make it a sin. So there is a line, there is a finite, there is a level of awareness where God, like even it reveals it to you, like so many times in the Bible when God would say, go and sin no more. Like I said a minute ago, that is a cognitive, you have been told. You know, like people say God is a father. It is Jesus regarded, Jesus knew his father, and he didn't do what his father didn't already do or say. I know this is a hotbed topic because there is literal meaning, but there's also literal function to the body. There is a literal design that God gave our body. And so, look, I can be wrong. Help me understand where I am wrong. Hey, I'm open to it. I have no problem coming back and saying, thought about it, prayed about it. My whole premise is crap, and I'll flush that sucker down. But conversely, what if I'm not wrong? What if there are millions of you out there that have been so shamed, dismissed, dehumanized because you have worry, you have high anxiety, and you have no idea how you got here or how to manage it? There are classes online you can do. There are people. There are therapists. There's our counselors. Those are the people skilled because to help you, because they have understood it from their own experiences or the experiences of others and feel called to help you understand how to manage it and how to get there, because it's important to get there. And just like God is a God of balance, where He gives our sensations a remedy to manage them, He also gives us forgiveness for the very sin when we do commit it. He understands we know not what we do. His dying words, Jesus on the cross. So, in the celebration of our own freedom in the United States, we are so blessed. But you also have freedom in your body. And the grace in the space to understand how to manage it, because you have a God who is with you. You have a God who attunes to you and will co-regulate with you, with your brain, to help things calm, to help you have respite so you can get to the place of management and cognition, so you can understand the difference. And so you can understand that He is a God that you can trust. You have to have someone you can trust to get to the cognition of choice. Otherwise, you're just in survival mode. And I know there's a lot to unpack there. And for time's sake, I'm going to wrap it up. So more to come on that, friends. Until next time, God bless you. God bless America. And thank you, Lord, for being a God who attunes to us and understands and holds our distress and puts us back together with the palm of your hands. We love you, Lord. Amen. Take care, guys. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye-bye.